Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and I want to try poutine. I've found it recently on the internet, and it looks delicious.
I heard cheese curds actually melt much better than normal cheese.
I want it. And as you can tell, with me as always is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all listeners to It's Monday again. I wasn't even finished with Saturday.
Nice.
Thank you.
Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for that.
Well, my ambitious Scorpios, it's your turn today.
Scorpios, get ready to embark on an extraordinary journey of self-discovery and transformation for June. Like a cosmic alchemist, you're called to shed old layers and embrace your truest essence. The universe presents you with an opportunity to rise like a phoenix from the ashes, unveiling a new version of yourself. Love takes a passionate hue as existing relationships deepen and intensify. Embrace the enchantment of emotional connection with your partner as you explore the hidden depths together. Single Scorpios, be prepared for magnetic encounters that ignite your soul. Sizzling chemistry and profound connections await, leading to unforgettable experiences. In the realm of career and ambition, the cosmic energies align in your favor. Your unwavering determination and tenacity are rewarded as hidden opportunities reveal themselves. Take calculated risks, dear Scorpio, and pursue your dreams with fervor. Your unique blend of charisma and persuasive power sets you apart, propelling you towards success. Creativity flows abundantly through your veins this month. Allow your imagination to soar and engage in artistic pursuits that set your soul on fire. Whether it's painting, writing, or dancing, express yourself freely and let your creative energy ignite the world around you. Your creations possess the power to captivate hearts and leave an indelible mark. In June, the cosmos weaves its enchantment around you, empowering you to embrace the depths of your true strength. Trust in your potential, for the stars are aligned in your favor, dear Scorpio. Embrace the cosmic symphony and allow it to guide you towards a month filled with extraordinary possibilities.
Sounds like you were in for a fun June, Scorpios.
I have to agree.
Sting, sting. Well, now that we got that out of the way, why don't we get right into the stories while I enjoy my morning cup of brew?
Oh, what are you going to enjoy today?
Peach acai tea.
Ah, a nice classic that you seem to like to go back to.
Oh yeah, still just as good.
Well, for any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for correcting my wife's grammar? Need some input on this one. My wife is upset with me about always correcting her grammar. Example, we were watching The Office. Wife says, I bet they'll be making money off this show for the rest of their life. Me, lives. She got angry and then cried and said that I correct her grammar a lot and she finds it condescending and rude and that I am treating her like a child. I didn't see it that way and feel that it isn't really out of the norm to correct someone you're close with, especially when it's such a basic mistake. Also, she is a 4th grade teacher, so it is kind of her job to teach others proper grammar. So, am I the a-hole for being a grammar Nazi? Should I just keep my mouth shut? Thanks in advance.
You're a dish. Yeah, seriously, you're the a-hole. No time taken on this one. Good way to start Monday. Yeah, you got her to the point where she was crying. So you've obviously done this a lot together. I'm shocked that she still puts up with it. Or rather, I'm willing to bet that she's probably told you how much it bugs her, yet you persist. You definitely need to take that as a cue. It's not your job to tell her what she should or shouldn't say or how to say it. Especially if she's gone to the point where, again, I'm going to say it. She's probably told you, knock it off.
A lot of the times when you're just talking to someone normally, your speech patterns tend to be more relaxed.
Sure, definitely. You're not in that setting. I can definitely see it from that point of view where, like, if you are with your husband or wife, you definitely wouldn't be at that level where you're talking about, where it's not a professional setting. I'm not in school teaching kids. I'm with my significant other. I should be able to be lax about how I say things and not worry that the grammar Nazi is going to appear out of the side of the room and come talk to me about how I said lives.
Well, I know for you and I, we actually enjoy just making up our own words sometimes. So.
Yes, that happens all the time. But if it does, it becomes its own little word going forward for you too.
Like, remember how our son would say obliterate rather than obliterate?
Those were the good days.
Yeah. It's amazing. Now it's just our word. Now we say obliterate.
Yep. He'd walk around going, obliterate. What are you saying?
How is it that he would say Gandalf again?
Oh,
Grandalf.
We first watched The Lord of the Rings and he's like, Grandalf. I was like, what's his name? Grandalf? I was like, So it's Gandalf. He's like Grandelf. And it was a tickle fight, and he never got it right for an entire summer.
It was amazing.
Yep. Yeah, you're definitely the a-hole, OP. It almost sounds like condescension is playing a role here in your marriage as well. So you may want to tone that down a little bit. You're equals. You're not her boss.
Well, let me go ahead and give you just a small little update that he provided us with. And in it, he says, so the consensus is I am the a-hole. As you can tell, Reddit consensus is that he's the a-hole. I did apologize yesterday and apologized again this morning, and will try to stop doing this in the future, thanks to those who gave constructive feedback.
Hey, that's fantastic. It's always good to see where people can adjust and make things better for others around them.
I bet you can imagine the Redditors probably just...
Oh, it was savage, I bet.
Oh, it was. It was actually... I don't want to be him posting this.
It was obliteration.
It was. Well, let's go on to our next story and see what's happening at this potential wedding. Am I the a-hole for breaking tradition by not making my step-cousin a bridesmaid? I, 26 female, have a step-cousin, Jess, 29 female, who is the stepdaughter of my uncle Rob. Rob married Jess's mother, Tara, when Jess was 9, and Rob already had my cousin Nate, who was 8. I have 7 cousins total, and Jess tried to bully all of us. She didn't really succeed with my 2 older cousins, who were preteens and totally unbothered, but the rest of us were forced to play with her, and she was the absolute worst. She was bossy and a nightmare if no one did what she told them. She'd take things, break things, and tattle to her mother constantly. As we got older, it just got worse. She stole my cousin Beth's car because she was jealous she got one for her birthday. She stole our social media content and posted it publicly. She had a party at my aunt's empty apartment. It was bad. Nowadays, she mostly nurses her intense victim complex and does her level best to be a soul-sucking presence at Christmases and summer holidays. In our family, when one of us has got married, the cousins are bridesmaids and groomsmen. Jess has been included in this twice, and both times she was such a drag at all the events, we literally had do-overs, and she got sent out of the bridal suite. I decided for mine that I wouldn't make her a bridesmaid. I am having a wedding of 300 people that has effectively been planned like a military operation, and frankly is causing me more anxiety than I'd like. I don't need Jess ruining the run-up to the day. I asked all my female cousins and my father's girlfriend. I sent Jess a long message explaining that I wanted her to hear it from me, and that since we are not close, I presume that she wouldn't be too put out, but I hope that she wasn't offended, understood my decision, and that she would still attend the wedding. All hell broke loose. My grandfather and father have been getting bombarded by Tara, saying that they have to put their foot down and make me have Jess as a bridesmaid as a family tradition. Jess even went so far as to contact my fiance about how, quote-unquote, hurt she is. Her creepy obsession with him is a whole other thing. Rob has contacted me to be fair to him very kindly, ask me to reconsider. Jess is bemoaning the fact that by excluding her, I've basically said that she isn't family because she's not related, and she hasn't been shy about sharing this publicly. My grandmother has said that it's unseemly to have this much drama surrounding the wedding, and that I could have Jess up there on the day and just not invite her to anything beforehand, so that it at least looks cohesive. My grandmother is right about one thing. Tara and Jess are not letting it go, and it's becoming a huge thing. So I'm wondering if I made a mistake by taking this stand. Edit, I'm seeing a lot of people saying it's unfair that my family are siding with Jess. They aren't. My grandfather and father have both told Tara where to go. My grandmother doesn't like Jess any more than I do, but she is sometimes more concerned with what her society circle thinks than the real situation. She's just trying to avoid gossip. Not her finest moment, but she isn't suggesting I give in for Jess's sake. Am I the a-hole?
This is a really clear and cut story. It sounds like your step cousin is a problem. And unfortunately, she's abused the family card way too many times to the point where you're having to explain every incident she's caused through your guys' lives together. Other people's weddings. As you're growing up, she was a bully and then continued that. She doesn't sound like a good person. And I don't mean to beat up on anyone because it maybe sounds like there's some stuff she probably needs to go get some therapy for. There's a lot of alarm bells going off there, and I'm assuming you guys are probably in your 20s, maybe early 30s. So there might be an outside shot to like...
Yeah, she's 26 and Jess is 29.
Oh, you're a little too old to still be acting like that. I would definitely go seek some help for your cousin because things might escalate.
Aside from her having a creepy obsession with our poster's
And that's what
fiance.
I mean by escalation is you don't know what she's capable of, especially if she's acting that erratic. You say it yourself. You're not as close to her as the other cousins were. So it should have been okay for you not to have had her as a bridesmaid. It's your wedding. It's okay to not have anyone as your bridesmaid. I don't care about tradition. It's up to you and your spouse at that point. If you don't want her in there, yeah. If you don't want her in there, that should be the end of it. That's how I feel. I definitely would go with your decision on this matter. It doesn't sound like she deserves to be up there. Family is who you choose it to be.
I can definitely agree with that. And so does a whole lot of commenters as well.
She sounds like a terrible person.
Oh, yes.
Really bad.
Yes. Well, as you can tell, our consensus is our poster is not the a-hole. In fact, there was one commenter that posted a link to an analogy, and I'd like to go ahead and share that with our listeners because I think it's a great analogy.
Let's go.
It's called Don't Rock the Boat. I've been thinking about this phrase a lot lately, about how unfair it is because we aren't the ones rocking the boat. It's the crazy lady jumping up and down and running side to side, not the one sitting in the corner quietly not giving a fuck. At some point in her youth, mom/mother-in-law gave the boat a little nudge, and look how everyone jumped to steady the boat. So she does it again and again. Soon her family is in the habit of swaying to counteract the crazy. She moves left, they move right, balance is restored temporarily. Life goes on. People move on to boats of their own. The boat rocker can't survive in a boat by herself. She's never had to face the consequences of her rocking. She'll tip over. So she finds an enabler, someone so proud of his boat steadying skills that he secretly, or not so secretly, lives for the rocking. The boat rocker escalates. The boat steadier can't manage alone, but can't let the boat tip. After all, he's the best boat steadier ever, and that can't be true if his boat capsizes. So therefore, his boat can't capsize. How can they fix the situation? Ballast. The next generation of boat steadiers are born. A born boat steadier doesn't know what solid ground feels like. He's so used to the constant swaying that anything feels wrong and he'll fall over. There's a good chance the boat rocker never taught him to swim either. He'll jump at the slightest twitch like his life depends on it because it did. When you're in their boat, you're expected to help steady it. When you decline, the other boat steadiers get resentful. Look at you, just sitting there while they do all the work. They don't see that you aren't the one making the boat rock. They might not even see the life rafts available for them to get out. All they know is that the boat can't be allowed to tip, and you're not helping. Now you and your dear husband get a boat of your own. With him not there, the balance of the boat changes. The remaining boat steadiers have to work even harder. While a rocking boat is most concerning to those inside, it does cause ripples. The nearby boats start to worry. They're getting splashed. Somebody do something. So the flying monkeys are dispatched. Can't you and dear husband see how much better it is for everyone else if you just get back in the boat and keep it steady? It would make their lives so much easier. You know what would be easier? If they all just chuck that bitch overboard.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I thought the analogy was so good. And yes, this was actually posted in a forum called Just No Mother-in-Law. However, I think it really goes where a lot of people are so worried about the person that's trying to rock the boat that they realize they don't truly have to take it. They can just get off the boat.
Yep.
This step-aunt and her step-cousin are just rocking the boat. Why are people taking something that they technically shouldn't really have to deal with?
Yeah, I agree
Her
with that.
uncle's trying to steady this boat and make people happy. But in the end, it makes everyone unhappy because they're trying to go ahead and conform because two people are running around in the back of the boat, causing the boat to rock.
I think people get caught up in their tradition when they're like, look, it's family. And a lot of people, even though you and I believe that family are the people you choose to be around, there are a lot of people that grow up with that mindset where if someone is your family, blood family, you are family through thick and thin, no matter what, you deal with each other. I think that can be a harmful way to look at things because it almost gives people a go-ahead to treat you and act the way they want without fear of any type of consequence because, well, you're still going to make me your bridesmaid, and if you don't, I'm going to start complaining to the family until you make me that.
And essentially rock the boat.
Yes. Throw her overboard. Give her a life raft, throw her overboard, move on with your life, be happy. Don't invite toxic to the party.
I definitely agree with that. Well, let's go ahead and walk away from this wedding and see what's happening with this family. For our next story, am I the a-hole for telling my wife I'm tired of raising a kid that is not mine? I, 31 male, am married to my wife Amber, 30 female. We have a daughter Emma, 7 female. The problem is my wife's best friend Jennifer, 30 female, has a daughter as well, Harper, 7 female. Well, Harper's dad is a lazy sack of crap and refuses to do anything with his daughter. He is the type of guy that brags about how he never changed a diaper. Jennifer and Harper are usually at Amber and my house on the weekends because Harper's dad is drinking and watching sports all weekend. On Saturdays, however, with Harper being there every Saturday, anything I do with Emma, I have to do with Harper. Take Emma to the zoo, it's Emma, Harper, and I. Taught them both how to ride bikes, takes them both to dance class, take them both to the kids salon, and so on. Mother's Day was the last straw. I took them both to dance class Saturday morning. Amber and I also pay for both dance classes because deadbeat won't. On the way home, Emma asked if we could stop to get something for Mom for Mother's Day. I said sure, but then it ended up I had to buy something for Harper to her mom as well. On the way home, I just kept thinking, why am I buying someone else's wife a Mother's Day gift? That's his job. A few days later, because I did not want to ruin Mother's Day, I told my wife that I am tired of raising Harper. Her real father needs to step up. I'm tired of it taking away time I get to spend with Emma. She said that Jennifer is her best friend, and we need to be there for Harper. Now, she is not speaking to me and sleeping in the guest bedroom. So, am I the a-hole? Just wanted to add some updates to questions I see. Emma and Harper are best friends. It was my idea to spend Saturday with Emma. I work more during the week, so I wanted to spend Saturday with Emma to give my wife a bit of a break. We pay for things because Jennifer's husband thinks it's a waste of money to pay for dance class, and Jennifer can't afford to pay by herself. Jennifer and Harper do things with Amber and Emma 1 to 2 times a week during the weeknights. Am I the a-hole?
All right. So this one's not as spicy, but it is interesting. So it definitely does sound like Harper, the daughter's best friend, has a terrible father. That sucks. It definitely sounds like the OP is very frustrated at this point. He's trying to spend time with his daughter on the weekends when he has time. He says it. He works all week. He points out a couple of situations where he's had to not only take the daughter's friend, Harper, but he's also had to pay for her to accompany them.
Correct.
Because the girl's father is a deadbeat and says he shouldn't have to pay for these things, that it's not worthy of being paid for his daughter to do things.
Correct. It's a waste of money.
God, that's terrible. I can fully side with the OP in this situation. It shouldn't be on your shoulders to have to raise someone else's kid. Yes, I understand that they're best friends, but best friends and your child are 2 different things. You shouldn't have to shoulder the burden of having to take care of and financially support another child to hang out with your child. What I would do, though, in this situation is I would definitely go over to Harper's home, and then I would have a sit down with Harper's parents, because there's definitely something missing. That girl is attached to you guys because she's seeking what she doesn't have at home. Well, maybe if you make that clear to the parents, maybe some of this stuff starts clearing up on its own. Maybe they want to start spending Saturdays with their daughter as she's growing up. Because the thing is, they're going to remember all of those things later. I know you've been a good person up to this point, but there is a limit to how much people can deal with when it comes to other people's children.
Especially when it probably feels like they're overusing kindness.
Sure. It's like, oh yeah, my daughter's going to dance class. You pay for it. When would that ever be acceptable? To have another family pay for your child to do things?
Personally, I've never heard of it unless there's been some give and take, such as if you pay for dance class and then I can watch the kids during
Sure,
X
but
amount
see,
of time.
it's
more like a mutual understanding in
exactly.
that case.
But that's not what we have here.
No.
This just sounds like this guy is using the family so that his daughter can participate in things, but without having his dime involved. You're definitely not the a-hole, OP. You're okay with how you feel and think about this situation.
Well, let me go ahead and give you the consensus, and let me give you 2 viewpoints from that consensus. So for the consensus, it says not the a-hole. A lot of commenters were definitely siding. Now here comes 2 different viewpoints that our commenters in Reddit provided us. First things first, they say that Jennifer, which is the best friend, the wife's best friend, is essentially using our OP as a gap husband. It's something that I've never truly thought about, but I thought was really interesting where her husband is lacking in a lot of points. So essentially she's using our OP to fill in those gaps. Now, the other flip of the coin, which potentially gets a little darker, is that in the post by our poster, he actually puts that the reason why Harper and Jennifer come over to their place is because her husband drinks.
Oh, no, I knew you were going to go down there.
And watches sports. And maybe the reason why she's doing this is because the household is abusive.
Okay.
So they say if that's the case, maybe it would be good to have talks with Jennifer if the environment that she's in is not safe or well enough, so much that literally our OP feels like a father to her child. Maybe it's about time to go ahead and start laying down some ground boundaries and making sure that they are able to step away from that situation.
Yeah. Kind of only sounds like she's been able to live with her life because she's been putting her life on them.
Correct.
And that's not a way to go about it.
Essentially, it's a form of escapism.
Yeah. And if you're really at that point in your relationship, you probably need to go ahead and either get some counseling to see if you can fix it or just walk away from it, because it sounds like it's veering into unhealthy waters.
I thought they were two very valid viewpoints.
Yep.
And figured that I would go ahead and share it. Well, let me go ahead and have us go on to our next story regarding some honesty. Am I the a-hole for being brutally honest with someone about my concerns? I, 25 male, have a friend, 30 non-binary, they, them, who has been pursuing higher education for the last several years to become a mental health therapist. Great. We need more of those in the world. I have a master's degree in social work, not currently working in the field though. So they tell me about their experience, ask for advice on assignments, etc. That's the kind of extent of our friendship. I was recently brutally honest with them when they came to me for advice. They were venting about a recent conflict at their internship site and asked me how they should address/resolve it. I'll admit, I got frustrated because they vent to me a lot. I sent them a recap of the multiple issues they have had over the last 2 or 3 years, all of which are due to conflicts with colleagues, them disliking their supervisors, or in one case, a client, or mock client, I'm not sure, complained about them. Then I said, my biggest piece of advice would be to really consider if this is the field for you, because you are the common denominator in all of these issues. If you're struggling to get along with your colleagues, then I worry you may not be effective with your clients. Of course, they blew up, called me names, said I wasn't helpful, and I'm LGBTQ phobic, etc. I think I could have worded it better, but in my opinion, my points are worth them considering. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Sorry, I did not expect this to get as many responses. I'll address a couple things here. 1. I have a master's in social work, but I'm not a therapist and do not intend to be one. Social work covers a lot of different professions. So no, I don't feel like I should be expected to treat the friend as delicately as I would a client. 2. To my knowledge, none of the disputes they have vented to me about have been about their gender identity. That said, their family are bigots, so I know they are very hurt by those past experiences. 3. Most of the conflicts stem from feedback. The friend does not take constructive criticism well and asks for advice on what to do, but usually it results in them feuding with the person who gave them the feedback because they perceive the person as being harsh, unreasonable, or just wrong. On 1 or 2 occasions, the matters were personal, but they involved people who they go to class or work with. For example, not being included at a bar outing and confronting them, resulting in an ongoing argument. 4. Sorry for being vague. I don't want to paint this person as being terrible, but they really do seem to be burning a lot of bridges over what I feel, professionally, are small issues, but to them are very big ones. That's not great when you're trying to become a therapist. Am I the a-hole?
This is spicy meatball. So we'll start with this. It sounds like the potential therapist needs to go to therapy. Because, well, the first thing we'll start with, how are you in that line of work, but you can't take constructive criticism? That's super important to like development as a human. You kind of need that. And if you're going around your life and all you're doing is every time someone tells you something that you don't like to hear, you automatically assume that it's an attack on you as a person, as a whole, you're never going to develop into anything better than you are today. because you can always better yourself. Yes, there are some ways where people can go about it and be cruel, but I doubt that every single person in this person's life has gone about it cruelly. OP's right. The common denominator is the friend. They can't all be wrong. There is an interesting thing in there as well, as the OP is explaining this story. While he is giving that constructive criticism to his friend, the rebuttal to that was that he's transphobic. And I think that is in and of itself ridiculous, because that's not what this is about. Has nothing to do with you personally developing as a person. I think that's a straw man argument. And instead of just going, you know what, maybe there are some things I need to work on as a person. Yeah, just keeping good friend. If he asks for your opinion, and it sounds like he kind of drops all this stuff at your door because you say it, your friend complains to you a lot. I think you're just being a good friend and trying to point out some things.
Well, let me go ahead and give you the consensus and some viewpoints. So the consensus is our poster's not the a-hole. The moment that they went ahead and they explained the entire situation, because a lot of people had a lot of questions regarding this, as you can imagine, it's a little bit of a hot topic.
Sure.
The moment that they said that, one, the issues, the disputes had nothing to do with the gender identity of his friend, and then two, that his friend does not take well with constructive criticism and only pushes back, that it really does fall to the fault of their friend to go ahead and try and accept the feedback that our poster is providing, that in no way makes them an a-hole. Now, inside of the comment section, there's a lot of shared experiences from the commenters regarding the types of things and hurdles that they've had to go through when it comes to their gender identity and working in a professional environment. A lot of people actually have pushback because they don't conform to what is considered the norm. And because of that, they sort of get ousted from the field. Now, barring that from this situation, because this doesn't feel like it's one of those situations, a lot of commenters actually put down that this feels like a one-sided friendship. And if all that our poster is doing is taking the vents from this friend, and then the friend is not reciprocating it, they're not truly a friend in that case.
Sure.
They're not listening to what our poster has to say when it comes to their feedback. And then on top of that, they're not leaving an open space for our poster to go ahead and sort of also be able to vent, share their problems. If you're not having that back and forth in a friendship, it's probably good just not to have that friendship at that point. They are clearly burning their bridges, and our poster has said that. And they might be trying to save that, but at some point, if a relationship is toxic, then it sort of has to run its course if that person wants to go ahead and make sure that it doesn't ruin their personal and professional relationships. They'll work to make that better. Otherwise, why keep that in your life at that point?
Well, hopefully the poster got some good advice from everybody. But yeah, if you walk through life as a hammer, obviously everything is going to look like a nail.
All I can say is I wish both of them well in the situation, and there is no update. It really does leave sort of a bad taste in the mouth.
Hopefully he can grow.
Well, let me go to our next story and see what's happening here, shall we? Am I the a-hole for not helping my neighbor with her kids after her husband left? Background info. My husband and I, late 20s, male and female, have lived next to Jack and Jill for 2 years. We have a son who's 6 years old, and they have 2 kids who are of similar age, but a little bit older. All the kids go to the same elementary school, and I used to see Jack in the car rider line. Our neighborhood is relatively close to the school, so the school bus does not pick up here. We have to walk or drive our kids to school. Jack and Jill have constantly had loud fights ever since they moved here, and by fights, I mostly mean Jill would scream at Jack and kick him out of the house on a weekly basis. Normally, he would sleep in his car and come back inside in the morning after she leaves for work. Jill works as a CNA at a nearby hospital, the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. shift. Jack worked from home, like I do, which let him take the kids to school. Well, after this last fight, Jack packed up all his stuff and left, flew back home to his mother in a different country. Jill recently came to me saying that she has no one to watch her kids from roughly 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. She asked if she could send them over in the morning, have me watch them and feed them breakfast, and then take them to school, and then later pick them up and feed them dinner and watch them till she gets off work. I explained to her that being expected to be a second parent basically to 2 kids is not something I'm really interested in. I asked how much she was willing to pay, and she said she expected me to do it for free, since she has no friends and no one else to ask. She also asked if I would watch them on the weekends so she could pick up extra shifts. Otherwise, she won't be able to pay the rent. I told her absolutely not, and that she's insane basically to think I'd agree to something so unreasonable when we aren't even friends and our kids aren't friends either. My husband thinks I was an a-hole and that we could offer to at least help sometimes for the kids' sake. My stance is that we both know she wouldn't do the same for us if the roles were reversed, since Jill isn't really a nice person. Am I the a-hole for not helping my neighbor with her kids after her husband left?
Ooh, all right. This one's spicy meatball. So, absolutely not, OP. You are not the a-hole. This one's interesting because if you think it's acceptable to kick your husband out of the house and make him sleep in the car overnight, and this is like a habitual thing that you two are doing to each other, that's not good. Instead of talking things out and working through whatever issues there were, you instead got to a point where your husband would have rather just taken a flight back home into a different country and left his kids behind.
That's a serious...
How far did it go that's where it got to? I do feel bad for the kids in this situation. That sucks. Their dad left. Hopefully there's some resolution on that. But I wonder how extreme things got to have abandoned the kids. I'm not saying he's any better. I'm just saying that's very interesting. For the neighbor to have asked you and then expected you to watch these children for free, 7 days a week it sounds, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Sunday, feed them breakfast and dinner, and at no cost. What? Where are you living? What? I don't get that. So, yeah, don't ever. And it's really suspect of your husband to be like, oh, we should definitely be helping her out. What? Your husband knows everything you know about their relationship next door. I would wonder what your husband's up to. That's a little smidgy weird.
Well, let me go ahead and give you the consensus on Reddit. And the consensus is that she's not the a-hole for this decision. It says, if you know that somebody's toxic, especially if you yourself know that they would not help you in such a similar situation, there should be absolutely no obligation to feel like you have to do something.
She says it. They're not friends and the kids aren't friends.
On top of that, a lot of people were saying it's a really weird that your husband would go ahead and try and side with the neighbor.
See, okay, I'm happy I'm not the only one who was like, that's a little sus.
Now, of course, you're reading a lot into this situation. I find it funny that the moderators for AITA never put down an actual decision on whether the poster is or isn't the a-hole. But going through all of the comments, you can definitely tell where things ranged when it came to the consensus on it.
Would this not be a slam dunk that she's not the a-hole? Like, how is this a hard one, though?
I don't know. I mean, I can see it from the humanitarian perspective. You know, you're helping somebody who's in need. She's a single mother.
7 days a week, 5 to 7 p.m. She's expecting for her neighbor to watch her kids for free.
I think for me, if you've been here and you say that you don't have any friends, that speaks a lot to what kind of character you have as a person.
Sure, but that's not on your neighbors to have to pick up the slack that got left because you and your husband had a bad relationship and couldn't work through things. Again, I'm sorry that the husband ran out, but that's not up to your neighbors to pick up the slack Monday through Sunday. I understand a couple times during the week if that's how your relationship is and you've cultivated that, right? Trust and friendship. But to then just go, by the way, now you have to bear my weight because all of a sudden my relationship didn't work out. You're not an onus to your neighbors. I would be shocked if this was anything other than you're not the a-hole. But hey, I've been wrong on things. We like to hear different perspectives. We would love to hear what you guys think about this story. Sounds like Reddit hasn't come to a consensus on it. How do you feel about it? Is she the a-hole? Is she not?
Well, let's go ahead and walk away from this neighborly situation and go on to our last story.
Run away from it.
So fast. And into nanny cams. Am I the a-hole for checking my nanny cam footage to prove I was being lied to? This will sound ridiculous, but just stick it out. Recently, my spouse, daughter, 5, and I were having dinner together. He took some food off her plate to try a bite, and she responded by shaking her finger and saying, "You need to ask." He said, "I'm very sorry, you're right, I should ask." And then a few minutes later, he reached over to my place setting and took some of my food without asking. I didn't think it was a great example for our daughter considering it happened moments earlier, so I said, "You didn't ask. You just did the same thing to daughter." He said, "I assumed you were done eating," and I said, "You assumed, but just ask me." So he handed it back to me and said, "Can I have some of your garlic bread?" And I shared. Very calm, normal exchange. Because this was a non-issue and I was not upset at the situation, we tried to use it in marriage counseling as an example of how to communicate in certain situations. Mainly, when I say something hurt me, and my spouse wants to explain how he experienced the event instead of apologizing. It became an issue when he only wanted to share his side of the food story in counseling. Later that day, I asked him calmly again if he would like to share his side to see if it changes my perspective. I said, "I can't argue with your experience since we both agree on what happened." And to my surprise, he indicated we did not agree. He told me he took the garlic bread from my place because he got it for both of us. I knew this was nonsense as I order from this restaurant frequently and know how much garlic bread comes with the dish. I got insanely angry because we argue constantly about how things happen, so I stormed off. Later, he came to me and said, "I'm sorry. I thought the garlic bread was mine and I was wrong." So by this point, I'd been told that he got garlic bread for us both and then that he thought the bread was his. I felt crazy, as I usually do when these conversations happen with him. So I thought to check the nanny cam to see what really happened. He handed me my food saying, "And there's garlic bread on top for you." And then later, when I called him out for taking it from my place, he didn't say, "This bread is mine," or "I got this to share." He said, "Okay, can I have some of your garlic bread?" I took these clips from our nanny cam and sent them to him, asking why he would lie about something so small and turn it into a massive thing. He immediately got mad and said, "I can't believe you would do something as ridiculous as checking the camera. You're so out of line," and stormed off. So Reddit, am I the a-hole / out of line for using our nanny cam to call my spouse out on lying?
Well, I take back all the spicy meatballs, and this is the spicy meatball the episode. Your husband's a wiener jacket, and he might be a little bit of a liar to the point where you had to feel the need to go into the nanny cam footage just to prove it to him. That's really bad. It sounds like you guys are already in counseling, so good for you. Keep it up. I would wonder, because she says it, they are constantly at odds with each other over how an event occurred. There is the way it sounds like it actually happened, and then there's the way that he thinks it happened. If you can't be honest with things, that's a problem. I think his anger is unjust. He's only angry that he got caught. This story started really cute at the beginning. They're at the table. He takes a little bite from the daughter's plate. She says, "Nuh-uh." He gives it back. They're teaching her proper etiquette and manners.
Correct. And she's 5.
Yeah, that's great. And then it switches over to his wife, grabs the bread, and then everything else from this point on ensues. And then he turns it into something nasty, and then doubles down on the lie by saying, "I thought this was my bread."
I got bread for the two of us to share.
Yeah. And then the nanny cam footage had to show, nah, you're definitely not the a-hole, OP. Keep up with the counseling. Hopefully some stuff breaks through later on and he learns not to knee-jerk lie about things, but I suspect that's a long road ahead.
Let me go ahead and give you the consensus, and then let's go down into this rabbit hole.
Uh-oh.
So the consensus is that she's not the a-hole. If you have a nanny cam or any type of camera in your common areas in your home and somebody decides to lie, you have the right to go ahead and look at that footage. You're well aware that there are cameras there. Now, on another note, a lot of people were saying this kind of feels like almost the end of their relationship. If you're so at odds that your perspectives of the situation differ greatly from each other to the point where one person feels like they're crazy, that's not a good relationship to be in.
I can't imagine having every conversation be a complete battle about whether or not it was right or wrong. Every single thing in your life, that's probably not good.
I mean, their daughter's only 5, but they're in marriage counseling. And if this is happening inside the marriage counseling, it kind of shows just how skewed the relationship is to begin with. To be made to feel guilty for using this as a call out rather than saying, you know what, I was really wrong. I don't know why I lied. It shows what kind of person you're in a relationship with.
Sure. Even if, let's say for sake of argument, it did happen the way it did in his head, it still doesn't justify you reaching over and grabbing things off people's plates without permission.
Oh, yes.
That at the end of the day should be a red flag there, where when would you ever have someone and when would you ever accept someone reaching over and grabbing something off of your plate ever?
I can understand it only if that is something that both parties agree to is like the norm in their relationship. Sure. For me, I mean, when it comes to us, I try and put some more stuff on your plate.
I love it. Things magically appear on my plate.
What happened? There's more fries?
More? Yes, Pete.
But to go ahead and actually take something from your plate without asking, I think is very rude.
Very rude.
I think in this case, it really is the fact that he would not just lie, but like I said, try and paint her out to be in a bad light.
Like she misremembered the conversation completely?
Not just misremembered, but I see the situation as being one where if you can construe something this small, you can construe something that's much larger.
Well, it's very unfortunate that the camera had to be the thing that solved it. I think that's really the crux at the end, where it got to the extreme that she needed to go get to a camera and that footage because there was never going to be an end, or it was only going to be his way because he wants it his way to be right.
Now, I definitely do suggest that listeners read through this comment section. There's a lot of funny situations. I mean, back when it was probably happening, it wasn't funny, but now it is. A lot of people talked about what they perceive as their special kitchen utensil and how they perceive that kitchen utensil where they can't cook without it. There was actually one commenter who shared their story where their partner refused to help them in a lot of stuff. And so much so that it was nice. Their partner actually got them a car. The car casket broke and their partner refused to help them repair it. So our commenter actually sold that car to a friend, you know, because if the car wasn't going to get repaired and they couldn't repair it, what was it going to do other than just sit there? So they sold the car. And then their partner went ahead and actually helped their friend fix the car.
Oh my goodness. Oh no, boo-boo.
So there's a lot of stories like this inside the comment section.
Those need to be on here. Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, it sounds, but maybe they can work through it. And if they can't, you just weren't meant for each other. And it's better than being in a stressful situation where everything has to be fought over. Exactly. That's not healthy. I think if you feel like you're going crazy for something that's happened and you can't share your perspective without it being twisted, it's probably not a good situation. Agreed. That was the last one, huh? Yes. All right. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart. If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Don't forget to also leave your viewpoint and your opinions in the comment section below. We would love to hear what you think about Story 5. Also, what's your favorite kitchen utensil? I have a big cleaver I love to cut everything with. It actually has a dragon on the handle. It's really cool. Voyse got it for me for my birthday a couple years back, and I love it. It's so legendary, we call it Halo. And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.